Why am I here? I don't know.
Why are any of us here? All right. Well, existential questions aside, I'm Philip Rothman, and welcome back, everybody. I'm with Scoring Notes, as you all know, or maybe you don't know. But I'm here to tell you that I'm here with my good friend John Barron from Steinberg at the 2024 MOLA Conference in Cleveland, Ohio. And we just finished up yesterday a nice tech fair, and we've got the conference for the next few days. And John's been talking all about Dorico to the assembled delegates of music librarians and publishers and other people associated with the library industry. But John, it's great to see you and great to have you at the MOLA Conference.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
And it's good to see you in person.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
Hearing your voice for a few years, but we haven't met for 3 or 4 years, actually, possibly.
We were at the NAMM 2020 show. Was the last time you and I saw each other.
Yeah.
So that was in January 2020, and the world has changed quite a bit since then. But it's really great. And speaking of that, like, to get everybody back together and talking to each other face to face, there's just really no substitute for it. So my first question to you is, having I know last year at the Tech Fair in Berlin, some of your colleagues were there. Daniel and Marcus were present. But since this is your first time at the MOLA Conference, what have you learned, and what have people learned from you?
Oh, well, no, yeah, I think last year I was doing a different conference at the same time, so we can divide and conquer.
Yeah.
And this time I was available to come to MOLA, so it's quite good fun. I like this one.
Yeah.
And it's just good to talk to the people in person and find out actually what their needs are from them individually. Mm-hmm. And then there's a few people who also are saying, oh, we've seen some of your videos, or we've seen things online, and we want to actually meet the person. And then they realise it's just me. So it's fine. But no, it's been really good to show them just some of the options and things that are available and what you can do in Dorico, because unless you're actively looking for software, you might not be doing that. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, just to say to people, well, actually, there is an easier way, or there might be a better way of doing what you're doing now, and just making that available. So we had a good session yesterday in there. I did run over by 4 seconds, but as you can tell, I talk a lot.
Yes. Well, no, I mean, yes, you do talk a lot, but you talk very well and very expertly, and it is no small feat to try to pack in all that information and technically be savvy about it and navigate the program. And if I understand correctly, you composed a little ditty on the plane ride over that you showed.
Not really a composition, but it was a long plane ride, and I was also delayed for a while and cancelled. I nearly didn't get here at all, but we did make it. But yes, I just ended up with that little earworm of Copacabana and realising this is MOLA. So music and passion in an orchestral fashion at the MOLA. So it wasn't a composition. It's not even an abomination. But I've written a whole verse of lyrics for it now, so
we'll spare our listeners the torture of that.
Yeah, people need to probably ask me some more questions about Dorico to stop me doing anything else, I think.
Well, look, I mean, on a more serious note, actually, Dorico and MOLA have a long history together. MOLA was, or I should say Dorico rather, in 2016 was officially announced at the MOLA Conference.
It was, Daniel did that, 2016 in Helsinki, and that's when people actually saw it for the first time. I've been talking to a few people here who said that's when we first went, oh, hang on a minute. They're still excited about it. Yeah.
And Dorico, as with the other notation products that are out there, is really quite varied and diverse and can do a lot of different things. And I imagine, I saw Dorico exhibited at NAMM with you and then some of your colleagues subsequently in subsequent years. But the MOLA crowd is very specific, and they are bound to ask you some really probably highly technical questions about the score and the page layout, and can you do this and that and the other thing. What are some of the questions that you've gotten from some of the people?
Well, there are a fair number of people here who they're just taking an initial look at. So actually, what's the kind of differences and that kind of thing. And also, of course, I realised just knowing the type of people who will be here, actually playback's not the most important thing. And so at the various different conferences, you kind of move from, is it an educational focus or is it a film and TV playback focus? And this one is very much publishing and what does it look like. So the fact actually just now I was having a conversation with somebody saying, so you haven't actually edited this part at all, and it looks really good. So yeah, that's the default output. But what about if you wanted to change this? Oh yeah, there's an option to do that, and you can make it look in this particular style. So looking at library options and kind of importing that, so you don't have to redo all the same work again to get that style and look of a particular publisher or what suits you.
Right.
And options for making some, putting logos and things for a specific orchestra for, so it's for you in the template.
Okay.
And also options for things like, well, there have been some good questions about, so how do I tweak all of these slurs to look that way? And those kind of real detailed things about how we do those. So
well, and in the library context, often they are very limited in terms of the source material that they have to work with. They may have a scanned part, or maybe they have a PDF that was generated from notation software, but they don't have the source file themselves. And if they want, if they say, hey, we need to tweak the appearance of the slur, or change the thickness of this or that or the other thing, or make everything consistent, they have to go one by one, bit by bit, and kind of make each individual adjustment. And I think one of the things that I've been really keen on having a conversation with the my librarian colleagues is that, and I know David on the podcast as well often makes this point about automation, and you can do it better and more consistently and faster than you would if you were just doing it one by one by yourself. And that's the thing that I think is, every time you touch that point a little bit more with the librarian colleagues, with the people that are in the software, not every day, all day like some of us, but just have to dive in once in a while, say, this is the way in the library that you can set this, or this is in the notation options, and actually you can do them all at once. And I think that concept actually extends beyond Dorico, but Dorico is really kind of the exemplar of that type of way of working.
There's often, I kind of said yesterday, there's sort of two ways, or kind of two sets of preferences. There's the global preference for, I always want it to look like this.
Right.
And then there's the case where you go, apart from here, where, so you get that individual option. And so I've been doing kind of a combination of, while we're here, of showing people who've never seen Dorico before, here's some of the things you could do and some of the various options. And then other people who have very particular questions about things. And I've been able to say to a couple of people, actually, there's a quicker way than what you're doing. So, they're just doing that one thing, but actually, well, you could either script it, or you can use this shortcut, or you can do, there's another way of doing that that's actually slightly better because, and that's been really useful as well. And so there's a few people who, I think we're going to set up some training for some people after this.
Oh, good.
So, online. Obviously, I'm not. Well, they're from all over the place. I've talked to people in Estonia and the US and all over. So we'll whatever works, and we can then do some training with these people just to kind of say, actually, for your particular use case, tell me the things you want, and we'll just do training on that particular thing. Because it's obviously you can Google our help information and that kind of thing.
Sure.
But sometimes just talking to an individual and having some training is going to be useful to them.
Absolutely, to hone in on whatever it is, because they may not need half of what the program offers, or
playback. Might not ever listen to it.
And that's fine. I mean, they use it for a very particular purpose. One thing that came to mind actually as you were demonstrating, because I attended your demonstration yesterday, and so often, because I send the scores that I get from composers, I'll print them, and it's too late at that point to do anything, but I know that there's going to be a miniature revolt in the library, and perhaps about the conductor, because they have all the separate parts on every a single staff, and that means that the staff size is so small in the score. And of course the composer has done that to make extracting parts easier for them, because they can do one-to-one. But then Dorico with its condensing feature, and this is something that I need to make sure that the librarians know about, that hey, you need to know that if you get a score that you have to get out your magnifying glass to read the score, that there is a way to make it better, to condense those onto one staff.
Have you got really big paper? Bigger paper.
Well, right. And then
where's the orchestra? I don't know. They're behind this.
And then you have to lift weights to actually hold the thing back and forth
and
ship it and all that. But Dorico, because we have gotten away from what was a very good engraving standard prior to the computer, which was multiple instruments on a single staff to save space and to make those staff sizes larger. And then you separate that out into parts. And of course, the opposite problem is also when composers write that way in the score, but then don't separate out in the parts. And there's nothing more nothing that players really detest more, especially if the parts are rather thorny, than having like two parts on a single, two instruments on a single port, horns 1 and 2 on a single part. And
being able to automate that, and that's what I think surprised a lot of people, is saying, so we've got this in all of these instruments, and we had an example yesterday with 12 French horns. Well, that's unnecessary. Well, it is anyway, but but be able to just press a button and say, actually, and here's a version where they've all been condensed in the way you want. So in that particular case, it was just doing 6 and 6 on 2 staves. And then freeing up so much more space so you can make the staves bigger, but being able to just turn that on and off at will, and have Dorico do that automatically. And then somebody said, but what happens if you can also set your own options if you want to specify how the condensing is done for a bar, a section, the whole thing.
Even on a system by system basis. And again, I think the important thing for many of our colleagues here at MOLA is to realize that even if they're not doing that themselves, that they're aware of that possibility exists, so that they can then go back to the people that are creating music and say, hey, this is actually going to help them. And it's not just being like pedantic about, well, these are the rules and you have to follow it. These are all in service of a practical end, which is to get a better performance. If you can actually read the music, then you're going to get a better performance. So
and as we say a lot, more time for music.
Time for music.
Less time faffing around. That's not part of the tagline. But
right. Well, it should be, because people may not understand, exactly what you mean by that. But I think once you kind of put the other side of that in there, it's like, oh yeah, more time for music and less time for all the things that, it used to be the case that I would spend so much time showing people how to move this and that, and where on the settings and actually, I think we're getting to a point where we hope that will almost kind of work itself out.
Is faffing around a particularly English term, or does that translate?
We're aware of what it means. We can infer it from context. So enough faffing around here. We're going to go back to the conference and get more people interested in Dorico and all the different products that have been exhibited both at the Tech Fair and at the wider conference. But John Barron, it's always great to see you. Good fun, and I wish you all the best success with the rest of the conference in general with Dorico. Thanks
Good
for
to be
taking
here.
the time.
Thanks. Cheers.
Pleasure.
See ya.